Good morning. It's Friday, January 17th, and I'm here to tell you that when good things happen, there are usually people or a person who deserves the credit for that event. And in many cases, there are people who will jump in and believe that they deserve the credit for that event. And so we have this deal that was just made, this hostage release deal. And we have both presidents, I am talking about Trump and I'm talking about Biden, who want to take credit for the hostage release deal. Now, each of them, I am sure, had something to do with it, and I myself could care less which one of them gets the credit for it. But if I look at this closely, I think that Biden deserves a little bit more of the credit than Trump does. But that's just my own opinion. And so let's take a look at this closely for a second. One of the first things that Biden took credit for was the killing of the Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar. That might not have happened if Israel had agreed to do something about the framework of the ceasefire deal earlier. But nevertheless, they took credit for the killing of that man. And Biden took credit for the agreement's framework. He said the elements of this deal are what I laid out in detail this past May. And that was embraced by countries around the world and endorsed overwhelmingly by the UN Security Council. I don't think much of the UN Security Council anyhow, but they endorsed it. And he also said this was one of the toughest negotiations I've ever experienced. We reached this point because of the pressure that Israel put on Hamas. And that pressure was totally 150% backed by the United States. And that had a lot to do with the ending of this conflict. So that's basically where Biden stands. Now let's take a look at Trump's story. Trump is basing his claim on the fact that he said there would be hell to pay if a hostage deal wasn't in place by his inauguration on January 20th. And so that's why he is looking to take the victory lap on the news of this agreement. He claimed the epic ceasefire agreement could only have happened as a result of my historic presidential victory in the election that took place in November. I am thrilled that American and Israeli hostages will be returning home to be reunited with their families and loved ones, he said. He wrote that. And Trump added that Steve Witkoff, the Middle East envoy, would continue to work closely with Israel and our allies to make sure that Gaza never again becomes a terrorist safe haven. Now, I don't know what that has to do with the victory in the first place, but nevertheless, Trump is smart enough to speak about the future. And Witkoff's meeting with Prime Minister Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was considered crucial in encouraging the premier to send a delegation to Qatar for further negotiation. And then there were two Arab officials who told the Times of Israel that Witkoff did more to sway Netanyahu in a single meeting than Biden had done the entire year. So you see, there's a lot of interplay here with others outside of these two gentlemen, Biden and Trump. And it seems to me that many of them are leaning toward Trump now. And I think part of that is because he's becoming the upcoming leader of the United States. So as far as any politician concerned right now, the man to be on the good side of is definitely Trump, because he's going to be the boss in a couple of days. So I have no argument with the statements that Trump is making, but I think he's stretching it a little bit into the fact that those things that he and his team performed were instrumental in the ending of Hamas's relationships with the rest of the world, so to speak. So I don't know, and I don't really care who gets the full credit for the end of this horrible 15-month war. And there are probably many other people who have bits and pieces of things that they did, but they're not stepping forward to say, I was a conqueror, I was a user, I was a winner. It's a terrible situation that war broke out. It's a terrible situation that Israel itself left themselves undefended at that point in time because they had business in another part of the country and they removed much of the protection at that southern border. So they have to share a little bit of the blame in this entire situation also. But it's over, apparently. And let us see what happens when they return the hostages, many of whom will not be in very good shape, I am sure, and probably many will not be alive. So that's a devastating event that is going to take place soon. And so it really, in my mind, doesn't make taking credit for ending this war as important as it should be, because there is much sorrow that is about to hit the world when the hostages are released. So I leave you with those sad thoughts right now, and I hope you can all have a great day. Take care. Bye.